My name is Ken Dunlap. I will be chairperson representing the Sioux Falls City Planning Commission. To my left is Susie O'Hare. She will be chairperson for Minnehaha County Commission. The two planning commissions work together on land use and zoning matters within the rural areas surrounding the city. This area is displayed on the screen. Soon will be. There you go. After information and testimony is presented on an agenda item, the members will discuss the matter, and then each planning commission will vote independently to arrive at a decision. Any final action taken on the conditional use permit request will take effect 5 working days following this meeting unless a written appeal of tonight's decision is filed in the county planning office by October 29th at 5 p.m. In the event of an appeal, the decision will be referred to the county commission and city council for a joint hearing on November 27th at 5 p.m. When the joint agenda is completed, the city planning commission will adjourn and the meeting will continue as the county planning commission considers items beyond the joint zoning district. At this time, we would entertain consent items, but this evening we don't have anything on the consent agenda. So we will move right into...
They're both on the consent.
We will move right into approving the minutes of last month's meeting.
It's on the consent.
Both items are on the
It is on the consent.
Oh, wait a minute. The chairperson stands corrected.
That's never happened.
I missed that too.
Well, I take it back. The items, we have 2 items on the consent agenda this evening. One is the minutes from last month's meeting. And the other is a conditional use permit to exceed 1,200 square feet of accessory building area. Would there be anyone here in the audience that would like that item pulled off the consent agenda?
Which accessory?
It's not.
Well,
it's
this
not
would be
yours.
item number 2.
No, it's not that one.
It's at the north end of Ellis. This item is at the north end of Ellis that we're talking about right now.
Is there anyone here that would like this taken off the consent
Anybody here?
agenda? Commissioners, is there anyone on the city side that would like this taken off the consent agenda?
To have a discussion on it, we have to ask for it to be taken from the consent agenda.
Yes, sir.
Then I would like so move.
All right. We will move item number 2 to will become item number 1 on the regular agenda. Chair would entertain a motion for the approval of the minutes of last month's meeting on the city side.
Oh,
The county side.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor, signify by saying yes.
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 It's approved on the county side.
Approved on the city side. We will now move to item number 2 on the regular agenda. Do we need a motion to approve the regular agenda, Jesse?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor, signify by saying yes.
Yes. Saying aye.
Dustin Powers, if you would tell us about item number 2.
Good evening, Commission. Item 2 is conditional use permit 12-55 to exceed 1,200 square feet of accessory building area on property legally described as lots 1, 23, and 24 of Block 1 Harvard Aguirre's first edition of Ellis in Section 9 of Wayne Township. The property owner is requesting the conditional use permit to move on 1,296 square feet, a square foot accessory building, and build an additional 1,800 square foot accessory building for a total of 3,096 square feet of accessory building area on the property. In this area, there are 2 properties in the immediate vicinity that exceed 1,200 square feet, one being 3,150 square feet, and the other being 1,232 square feet. The property owner would like to construct these buildings west of the primary structure. The property owner is currently building a residential house right here. I believe this is lot 1 of the Algeiers addition. And the accessory buildings would be going behind that building. So one would be right behind it, and the other one would be built back here. The 1,800 square foot one would be built back here in the near future. When we look at these conditional use permits, we look at 5 different things. The first being the effect upon the use and enjoyment of the surrounding properties. There are larger accessory buildings in this area. The proposed site and the structure meets all the applicable setbacks, therefore should have little impact on the neighboring properties. Number 2, the effect upon the normal and orderly development and improvement of the surrounding properties. The construction of the proposed building should have no impact on further construction of any of the neighboring properties or future development that may occur within this subdivision. The third thing would be the utilities, access roads, drainage, and other necessary facilities that are provided. Access to the proposed accessory buildings would be from the primary access to the single-family home, and no other infrastructure improvements would be needed. The fourth thing would be off-street parking and loading requirements. Because this is a residential property, there's not going to be a need for any of those requirements other than that are with the residential use of the property. And the fifth thing being that measures are taken to control offensive odors, fumes, dust, noise, vibrations, and lighting that would be potentially coming from the property. There should be none of these nuisances from the property, as it is a residential use, and the buildings would be only for residential storage. Staff has found that the conditions for approval will help ensure that the oversized accessory building will fit with the character of the surrounding properties. Therefore, staff is recommending approval of conditional use permit 12-55 with the following conditions. 1, that the accessory building area for the property shall not exceed 3,096 square feet. 2, that the applicant shall obtain a floodplain development permit from the county prior to issuance of a building permit, and the applicant has already obtained that for this property. Number 3, that the building shall not exceed 35 feet in height. Number 4, that a building inspection is required to measure the outside dimensions of the buildings. Number 5, that a building permit is required for each of the buildings. Number 6, that the building shall be an accessory use to the continued use of the property as a residential lot. Number 7, that only personal residential storage shall be allowed in the building and no commercial uses or commercial storage shall be allowed at any time. Number 8, that all outdoor lighting shall be full cutoff and fully shielded, and a fully shielded design to prevent direct spillage beyond the neighboring properties, or the property boundaries, excuse me. And number 9, that the Planning and Zoning Department reserves the right to enter and inspect the accessory buildings at any time after proper notice to the owner to ensure that the property is in compliance with the conditional use permit conditions and the Minnehaha County zoning ordinance. I do have a few photos of just the property itself. This first being from Ellis Road, looking west. As you can see, there's already a hole dug there. That's where the residential property is being built, the house, and the accessory buildings would be further west of the excavator or the grader and the hole there. This would be from. There is a platted road on the north side of this property, and that's what you see there. The dirt there is that road being constructed there, and the holes where the house would be, and once again the accessory buildings would be back here behind. And this would be looking from the very west of the property, looking back to east towards the road. So the house would be in front of the buildings as if you were looking from the highway. As stated, there are larger accessory buildings in the area, and that is why staff is recommending approval. So if there's any questions for me at this time, I can answer those.
From the city, would you have any questions of Dustin?
I do. Dustin, I wasn't at last month's meeting, but in reviewing the minutes for approval tonight, it appears that it's a very similar application to what is being requested tonight, and that county recommended denial of that. Can you give some indications as to why you feel that these are not apple-to-apple comparisons?
The reason the one was denied last month was because there was no larger accessory building areas in that area. In that subdivision, he had already had the largest accessory building out there, and he was requesting even a larger, he was tripling the size of his accessory building. And there's no comparable accessory buildings in that area or in that subdivision that applicant was in. In this case, there are a number, actually you can see it right here on the map. This building here is 3,150 square feet. The applicant is requesting less than that. So traditionally, when we review these and when we review whether it's in the joint area or out in the county area, we've always looked at comparable accessory building sizes in that subdivision. And if there are larger buildings in that area and the applicant is requesting that amount or lower, traditionally we do approve those. And that is one of the major factors we look at when we look at these accessory building areas. As for that other one, there were none, so there were nothing to compare it to.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
Any other questions from the city side?
Any questions from the county side?
Thank you, Justin. Is the petitioner here? Would Mr. Doug Rupp be here?
I don't think he's here.
Who's the planning director for? Would you mind coming up for just a second?
Sure.
I'm not sure how it's handled at the county level. Typically at the city planning commission, we require the petitioner to be here. If he isn't, it's typically an item we defer.
We strongly encourage the applicants to attend. It's not a requirement, and you certainly, we tell them when they apply that they should attend the meeting, and if they don't and questions arise, the ramifications could be that it could be continued, it could be denied. The choices
So he
are all
was
open to you.
encouraged to attend.
We encourage all of people to attend, and I believe it even